Imagine you're at the top of your game. You've walked the halls of power, held national security clearances, and now, even though you're out of office, you still command respect. You're sitting in a congressional hearing, but you're not worried. You prepared for this. Your shoot is sharp, your smile is fixed, and your answers are polished. It's just another Tuesday. That's exactly where Kash Patel was. He thought it would be another routine hearing, until Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett pulled out the one thing he never thought would see the light of day. The air in the hearing room was stale, routine, the usual political theater. Kash Patel, a former intelligence official, looked completely at ease under the bright lights, ready to deflect and de-escalate. And then Jasmine Crockett began to speak. Her voice wasn't loud, but it cut through the room like a razor. "Mr. Patel," she started, her eyes locked on him. "I need you to confirm something for me. On March 9th, you testified, under oath, that you had zero involvement in coordinating intelligence briefings that contain unverified, politically motivated information. Is that still your testimony?" Patel gave a tight, confident smile. "Yes, Congresswoman, that is correct." And that's when she got him. She didn't gloat. She didn't raise her voice. She just gave the slightest, almost imperceptible smile. The kind of smile that says, "The game is over. You just don't know it yet." "Well then," she said, placing a single document on the overhead projector for the entire room to see. "You might want to explain this." On the screen, an email popped up, sent from Patel's own encrypted government account. The subject line read, "Briefing notes, top-line talking points." Crockett read it aloud. "Make sure the language leans on ambiguity. Don't confirm anything outright. This is more about narrative direction than detail." The room shifted. Aides stopped typing. Reporters leaned in. You could see Patel's practiced calm begin to crack. He leaned forward, squinting. "Congresswoman, I would need to see the full context of that email." "I'm glad you said that," Crockett shot back, not missing a beat, "because I have the full thread. And the attachments." A low murmur rippled through the room. 2 seats down, another representative was caught on camera whispering to his aide, "Oh, damn." This wasn't about politics anymore. This was about perjury. And Jasmine Crockett had just lit the fuse. But this takedown wasn't some lucky shot in the dark. To understand how she cornered a man this powerful, you have to understand the fight she's been waging her entire life. Before she was grilling officials in Congress, Jasmine Crockett was walking the worn-out halls of Dallas County courthouses. She didn't grow up dreaming of D.C. She grew up in a part of Dallas most people drive through without a second thought, raised by a nurse and a warehouse security guard who taught her one simple rule: don't let anyone talk over you, especially when they're wrong. That fire led her to law school, not for the prestige, but for the purpose. She became a public defender. And if you've never seen that up close, the frantic fear in a young person's eyes as they face decades in prison while a prosecutor flips through their file like it's a lunch menu, then you wouldn't understand what fueled her. It was a cold, focused rage, sharpened into a weapon for people who had no one else. She took the impossible cases, the ones with missing evidence and indifferent judges. And one case changed her forever. A 17-year-old kid named Devin, accused of robbery. The only evidence? He matched a vague description, black male, black hoodie, in his neighborhood that described half the boys on any given block. The DA offered him a 5-year plea deal. Jasmine refused. She dug. She found store receipts, school attendance records proving Devin was in algebra class when the crime happened. 6 months later, Devin walked free, all charges dismissed. That's who Jasmine Crockett is. She's a receipt checker, a truth finder. So when she got to Congress, people underestimated her. They saw a freshman, not a fighter. They thought she was just there to make noise. They were wrong. She was there to make a case. And as she sat in that hearing room, with Kash Patel squirming in his seat, she wasn't performing. She was doing what she'd always done, finding the cracks in a corrupt system before they shattered people's lives. And that first email, it was just the opening argument. The evidence she presented next would blow the case wide open. The silence in the room was absolute. Everyone was staring at the screen, at that first damning email. Patel, his composure finally slipping, tried to recover. Congresswoman, that email is being taken out of context. Crockett didn't even blink. We'll get to context, she said, her voice like ice. She put a second document under the camera. Another email from the same thread. This one was sent the next morning, she announced. It reads, "Need to make sure the analyst sticks to the script. I've marked the parts that could raise red flags. Let's stay vague until after the hearings." Audible gasps. An analyst scheduled to brief this very committee. Mr. Patel, that analyst was briefing this committee 2 days later. Correct. He hesitated. That's not my recollection. Would you like a copy of the calendar invite from your own staff? She asked, already holding it up. Because I have it right here. She wasn't just asking questions. She was building a cage of facts, bar by bar. But we're not done, she continued, her voice dropping, drawing everyone in. I also have phone records. Back-to-back calls between your office and the same political consultant, all within 24 hours of this email chain. You say no coordination? We have your emails, we have the call logs, and we have a witness who has already spoken to our investigators. Patel's jaw was tight. His lawyer was whispering furiously in his ear. But Crockett wasn't finished. She had one more document. The kill shot. She let the silence hang for a moment before placing the final page under the camera. It was another email, a forward, but the last line made the air go out of the room. It read, "All good. The language was cleared. Green light. POTUS office will be briefed tomorrow morning." Crockett leaned into the MIC, the president's office. "Mr. Patel, why was the White House being notified about language in a briefing that was, by your own testimony, routine and apolitical? Was this briefing, in fact, altered to fit a political narrative before it ever reached this committee?" Patel just stared. The smirk was gone. The confidence was gone. All that was left was a man who had been caught. "Do you deny writing this email, Mr. Patel?" He paused, his eyes darting to his lawyer. I don't recall writing it." Crockett gave a quiet, humorless chuckle. "Convenient, because if you did write it, and our forensic analysis confirms you did, then your entire testimony today and your testimony from March 9th crumbles. You're welcome to submit a report proving these are fake." Checkmate. She turned to the committee chair. "Mr. Chairman, I'd like this email and the entire thread entered into the formal record, and I'd like to formally request that this committee re-examine all of Mr. Patel's prior sworn statements in light of this new material." The hearing was no longer a hearing. It was a scene of a crime, and in the minutes that followed, the entire story exploded. Within an hour, the emails were everywhere. Cable news tickers flashed. Crockett reveals emails tying former officials to politicized briefings. The fallout was immediate. Back in the hearing, other committee members, even from across the aisle, started asking tougher questions. A freshman Republican, who almost never broke ranks, publicly stated that the committee had a duty to investigate the documents thoroughly. The unified front was cracking. When the hearing finally adjourned, reporters swarmed Crockett. She didn't say a word, just walked calmly back to her office. Her aide, Alicia, followed her in and closed the door. "You know what you just did, right?" Alicia said, her voice a mix of awe and terror. "You might have just kicked off a Department of Justice investigation." Jasmine just sank onto the edge of her desk and let out a long breath. If it happens, it happens. That night, her phone buzzed nonstop. Threats from anonymous accounts. But also a call from her mother. "Hey, baby," her mom said. "You okay?" "I'm all right, Mama." "You did good today," her mom continued. "That man didn't look so sure of himself when you were done with him. People saw that. You didn't raise your voice. You just gave them the facts. That meant something." And it did, because what Jasmine Crockett did wasn't just about one man or one lie. She reminded the entire country that accountability isn't a political game. It's a requirement. In the weeks that followed, the story didn't die down. It grew. The Judiciary Committee formally requested the documents. The Department of Justice began a preliminary review of Patel's testimony. Patel himself vanished from public view, his legal team releasing vague statements about misrepresented material. But the truth was already out. What sticks with you, though, isn't the political fallout. It's a small moment that happened a week later. Crockett was speaking at a community center when an 11-year-old girl came up to her. The girl looked her right in the eye and said, "My grandma said you made the liars nervous." Jasmine smiled. "And what do you think I did?" The girl shrugged. "You asked the right questions," she said, "and you didn't let him wiggle out." And that's the whole story. In a world full of shouting and grandstanding, sometimes the most powerful weapon is a quiet voice with a folder full of facts. Jasmine Crockett didn't need to yell. She just needed the receipts. She reminded us that the truth doesn't need a loudspeaker. It just needs someone brave enough to say it out loud. And that no one, no matter how powerful, is above the truth. The system isn't broken beyond repair. It's just waiting for people who aren't afraid to hold it accountable. One folder, one question, one email at a time. If you believe that facts matter and that courage is more important than comfort, make sure you subscribe. We have a lot more stories like this one to tell. Thanks for watching.